Welcome on into Chatterbox Reacts. This is a Reds-centered segment. Listen, we've talked about Bengals. We're going to talk about Reds today. I need to get my Reds venting out of the way. I'm here with Nick Kirby. He's the Reds extraordinaire. He is Mr. Red. He is Rosie Red. He is Gapper. He is all the mascots combined, put into one beautiful man. Nick, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. How about you, Zebra?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Listen, I wanted to have you on for this segment because it's been a topic of conversation over the past week and a half or so, and it's been growing. It's been growing. It's been getting louder over the past month, month and a half, and this is, of course, revolving around Alexis Diaz, our closer. Now, Alexis Diaz, in a very short period of time, became a guy the Cincinnati Reds could trust. So much so, he became the closer for this team. Something happened towards the end of last season. I don't know if it was overuse. I don't know if it was Alexis Diaz. We need to see him as much as possible because I don't know if we trust the rest of the bullpen. But something happened towards the end of last season where a guy we were so heavily relying upon became somebody that we had to start to get nervous about when he came in the game. And obviously this conversation got stirred up on Monday night. The Reds blew a one-run lead to the Arizona Diamondbacks. And that was Alexis Diaz. He came in. He didn't look good at all. I'd argue that even the out he got was terrible. So this is just a situation, an ongoing situation that I just wanted to monitor. And I'm not fully on the side where Alexis Diaz shouldn't be our closer anymore because of one little bad stretch. But I'm going to read the stretch to you, Nick, and I'm going to see if you are concerned about it because you're a guy who is a rational thinker, who's somebody thinks with his brain, and maybe I'm just the overreactionary fan here. Alexis Diaz in his first 104 appearances, that's through July 21st of 2023. He had a 1.8 ERA. That's 22 earned runs in 107 innings. Very good. Elite, dynamite. It made him an all-star. Alexis Diaz in the 42 appearances since that date, July 22nd, 2023, he has a 5.8 ERA. That's 25 earned runs in 38 and a third innings. Since August 1st of 2023, Diaz has more walks and hit batters than he has strikeouts or innings pitched. Again, I'm not on the fully side of bench him, let's get rid of him, but I will say, if there's a chance to make a little bit of a switch up, a move, try somebody else out, I would say now's the time to do it while he's still struggling. What say you?
Yeah, a lot of thoughts on this. So the first thing, I know a lot of people have used, Alexis Diaz's stats since August 1st of last year through this year.
Yeah.
I get that thought process, but you also, I think, need to you need to separate the 2 years. So last year was his first year as a closer. It seemed to me it was pretty obvious the end of last year was more fatigue than anything else. So I feel like we're maybe really piling on Alexis Diaz by throwing those extra 2 months at the end of last year on with this year. This year has been really bad. There's no question about it. He's walking everyone. He's not throwing strikes. I had concerns about Alexis Diaz coming into this year, but now I kind of feel like it's maybe gone a little overboard. We're looking at 14 and 2/3 innings. Alexis Diaz overall has got the job done. He's gave up runs in 5 of 16 games this year. If you go even further, of those 5 games, 2 of those games, the Reds led by 4 runs, and he ultimately got the job done. Another one of those games was the Reds were getting smoked by the Orioles. He came in just to get some work, and then Emilio Pagan gave up a grand slam to really inflate his numbers. So basically, he's really only failed 2 times the entire year. So that's why I would say let's give the guy deserves a little bit more patience than this. The one positive thing, he's yet to give up a home run this year. He has really great home runs per 9 throughout his entire big league career, which is something very important if you're going to be a closer at Great American Ballpark. So I guess the next step would be who would replace him, right? And I think everyone would go Fernando Cruz. Is it really going to benefit the Reds to swap those 2 guys? Fernando Cruz right now has pitched in 12 high-leverage spots. Alexis Diaz is the next, tied with Lucas Sims and Justin Wilson at 7. So Fernando Cruz is already pitching in the most important innings, getting the most important outs. And so I don't really think like swapping them is going to get better results for you. It's not going to get, pitcher to cover, better innings. Fernando Cruz is already in, I think, the biggest spot. So I don't really see a big deal right now. Lucas Sims has really struggled. So if you try to move him, and I think you want Fernando Cruz in that spot. He's been a perfect guy in that fireman role that can get you out of tough spots, get you out of big jams. I think you want to leave him there. I don't think you mess with that at all.
Yeah, and here's the other part. I have some Fernando Cruz stats I wanted to run by you just because I have it, and this is via Baseball Savant. I like looking at this website every once in a while. I'm not a big analytic guy, but this is a guy who ranks, first in major leagues in whiff percentage, in strikeout percentage. This is a guy, again, his people don't get barrels off him. The batting average against him is great. It's, the 89th percentile. Now, to be fair to Alexis Diaz, his batting average against 89th percentile. Nobody's getting a barrel off Alexis Diaz either. But I will say the strikeout numbers favor our guy Fernando Cruz. The issue with both of these guys is that they both rank near the bottom of the majors in walks. We have in the 6th percentile Fernando Cruz, and in the 3rd percentile this season, Alexis Diaz. Both have been, I'd argue, not efficient when it comes to walking guys, getting guys on base. Usually somebody's going to get on first when they come in the game. So in that regard, they're somewhat the same, but it comes down to who's got the hot hand right now. I'd favor Fernando Cruz. Now, what you just said, him coming in more high leverage situations by almost double than Alexis Diaz and Lucas Sims. He's already pitching in that high leverage situation, which means Alexis Diaz would have to come in the 7th, and would you rather have your lead blown in the 7th or the 9th? It's not a favorable option either way. And that's where you're right. That's a favorable point towards you. My argument is, when you're trying to win a game in the bottom of the 9th, you have to have trust in your closer. You have to have it. And right now the Reds, and I don't want to speak for you, I don't personally have trust in Alexis Diaz at this very second. I have trust he'll figure it out. I do. But this was a guy, I think, coming into last season, there were rumors, there were clamorings of, hey, maybe we've seen the best of this guy. Let's trade him while he's hot. Were you in that camp, or were you not in that camp?
As always, it depends on what the return is.
Of course. Yeah.
I'm not going to say trade Alexis Diaz for a bucket of balls or team's 25th ranked prospect. But if someone's going to give up real big time prospect back for him, yeah, I think you should always look to trade relievers when they're the hottest. And it's a huge if, you're going to get a big return for them. But I also think that teams have gotten a little bit smarter on that. You're not going to have teams go blow up their farm system for a reliever either. So, sure, absolutely. I would always be shopping a reliever. I don't care how good they are. I don't care how incredible they've been. I don't even care if I'm expecting them to regress or not. I'm always going to be shopping them, but I better get a hell of a return if I'm going to make a move.
That's fair. And my last point of conversation here is, Nick, if there was anybody else besides Fernando Cruz that would take that role, because we've already established Fernando Cruz is the closer without the actual title. He's pitching in the highest of leverages that the Reds have this season. If there was another name you'd throw out, is there one? Is there one? And if there is, who is it?
Probably Emilio Pagan. I know he hasn't had a great year. I think he's pitched a little bit better of late. Yeah. He's an $8 million reliever, so at some point you'd want to, maybe give him a run. Again, I'm not a guy that's huge on closers. I really love teams that are able to do closer by committee, and that is something I've learned over the years. It has to be tailored to your personnel. Not every team's going to be able to do that. And at this point, you've made Alexis Diaz a closer, so trying to go closer by committee, I think it's not bang for your buck on that. But I would say Pagan. I do want to say, though, one guy that deserves a lot of praise in this Reds bullpen that has gotten so much flack over the years, continues to get the job done, is Buck Farmer. It's Buck Farmer. This guy's got a 2.42 ERA. On Tuesday night, Reds had a 6-2 lead. He comes in the 9th because I think that David Bell said, I'm not even going to think about throwing Diaz back out there with a forward lead. He got the job done. He's pitched electric. This guy has been really solid for the Reds for 3 years, and he continues to get dumped on. And I want to shout out Buck Farmer. He's doing a hell of a job this year, and he's been a really solid pitcher for the Reds.
I want you to imagine this, Nick. I want you to close your eyes right now and imagine this. It's the bottom of the 9th. The Reds are up 2-1 against the Los Angeles Dodgers at home next weekend. Out comes Buck Farmer from the bullpen. The lights go out. They start blinking. I don't know what his walkout song is off the top of my... Is it Fleetwood Mac? I don't know what it is. But whoever it is, Buck Farmer's going to run out there with the lights flashing. It's Buck time. Big game Buck Farmer is going to run out there and close games for you. I don't think that's going to happen. But, if that does happen, I'm going to cheer him on. And I'm certainly going to make a lot of jokes about it. But thank you, Nick Kirby, for coming on. Chatterbox Reds after every single Reds game. Don't let the Reds get hot. They might win this series against Arizona. We'll have to find out later today. But that's it. Alexis Diaz probably not going anywhere as a closer, but he is struggling as of late. Hopefully the Reds can find a way to win this series and keep on winning the whole way home. That's it. Chatterbox Reds, Chatterbox Reacts. We'll see y'all later.